They thought the papers were gone. They thought the lies were buried beneath 3 layers of concrete and silence. But one forgotten folder, one audit note they forgot to shred, was all it took to bring everything crashing down. A late afternoon wind stirs dust across the construction site, rattling loose a metal sheet. The unfinished skeleton of Block 7 rises above the city, its narrow columns catching the fading light. Somewhere inside, a secret waits, pressed flat in a file, surviving by accident. It's a secret that could mean life or death for everyone who will one day call this building their home. Clara had only been at her new job 3 weeks. Fresh from a structural integrity course, fueled by idealism and strong coffee, she'd been posted to an active mid-rise site known as Block 7, Green Line Towers. The drawing said it was a 12-story commercial residential hybrid. The locals, squinting at its slender frame, called it the toothpick because, well, the columns were so narrow, everyone swore it'd snap in a breeze. Clara's role was clear: junior structural auditor sent in to review compliance documentation, just another cog in the machinery of safety checks, permits, and signatures. Her job was to make sure that what was built matched what was drawn, that every bar of rebar and every cubic meter of concrete played its part in the silent symphony of structural integrity. It should have been a routine job, but something felt off. It started with a whisper, a faint echo between numbers and schedules. On day 4, Clara sat hunched over the reinforcement schedule, cross-referencing delivery notes. Column B12 had been cast last week, but according to the bar bending schedule, the delivery of rebar for that zone had been canceled 2 weeks earlier. The numbers didn't add up. She asked the site manager. He laughed it off. "Ah, you know how paperwork is. Things move fast. We catch up." She asked the foreman. He grew silent, then muttered, "We just follow instructions," and walked away. The laughter and the silence both told her what the drawings could not. That night, Clara returned to the site office, alone. The hum of the city faded outside as she combed through printouts, technical drawings, and a dusty archive box tucked beneath a pile of safety vests. Her hands, shaking slightly, brushed against an envelope, labeled in smudged ink. Internal Audit, Phase 1, Do Not Share. Inside were 6 handwritten site notes. 5 pages had been ripped. 1 remained intact. She unfolded the note, her breath catching. Bar laps on floors 3 and 4 were shortened to meet casting schedule. Request to adjust drawing denied. Proceeded anyway. Document for shredding. EO 19-04-25. Clara's stomach dropped. Shorter bar laps, the overlapped sections of reinforcing steel that tie one length to the next, meant less structural bonding. On consecutive floors, the risk of progressive collapse loomed large. The initials matched the former lead site engineer, the one who'd suddenly resigned the week before Clara arrived. The next morning, Clara went straight to her supervisor. He looked at the note, folded it once, then twice. "It's been dealt with," he said, voice flat. "Besides, who's going to believe a junior? Don't make trouble." That was the beginning of the freeze-out. Suddenly, emails stopped being replied to. She was removed from meetings. Site access was temporarily suspended for what they called an internal review. The unspoken message was clear: stay quiet, stay out. But Clara didn't stop. She ran simulations at night, using public domain software and her own laptop. She verified reinforcement schedules, correlating them with delivery logs and casting dates. She quietly interviewed workers off-site, listening to their stories. Stories of late-night pours, of missing bar deliveries, of hurried deadlines. The results were chilling. Clara's calculations showed a 16% drop in load-bearing capacity on key shear zones, enough to fail during a moderate seismic event, or even under sustained overloading from crowded offices or heavy equipment. The building's skeleton, meant to be its strength, had a hidden weakness. 2 weeks later, a visiting delegation from the Public Works Commission arrived unannounced, scheduled for a routine safety drill. Clara saw her moment. She passed the envelope and the lone audit note to the lead inspector as the alarm sounded for the drill. 2 days later, work on Block 7 was halted. Not paused. Halted. Machinery idled. Workers milled at the gates. An independent audit was triggered. 4 site staff were suspended pending investigation. 1 procurement officer disappeared entirely, leaving behind a locked desk and an unanswered phone. Clara was asked to testify. The audit uncovered 34 separate compliance violations: misreported materials, understrength concrete, falsified soil compaction data, and, worst of all, missing reinforcement on 3 critical floors. The evidence was damning, but the most haunting detail was the systematic erasure, an original audit trail that had almost vanished. Every red flag had been documented, then shredded, except for that one page, the note they forgot. The investigation's findings sent ripples through the city's engineering community. For weeks, the story dominated headlines: safety compromised at Block 7. Audit trail points to deeper failures. Whistleblower engineer prevents potential disaster. The public, seeing only the unfinished concrete bones of a building, was suddenly confronted with the invisible dangers lurking beneath. But this isn't just a story about a building. It's a story about silence, about the spaces between what's written and what's built, about the cost of ignoring the whispers in the steel. It's about what happens when systems protect paperwork over people, when loyalty to budget outranks loyalty to lives, when concrete is poured over red flags. The language of structures is subtle. It's spoken in cracks, in the hum of tension through steel, in the quiet shifting of loads from beam to column. Buildings remember everything: the shortcuts, the omissions, the corners cut. They may stand silent for years, holding their secrets, until a tremor, a storm, or the weight of time itself forces the truth to the surface. The truth is, every structure is a record of choices made and risks accepted. The calculations on the page are promises that every ounce of steel, every cubic meter of concrete, will do its part under the worst of conditions. When those promises are broken, the structure keeps score, quietly, until the day it cannot. For Clara, the price of speaking out was isolation, at first. For weeks, colleagues avoided her in the halls, and industry veterans whispered that she'd ended her own career. But as the investigation deepened, something shifted. Other engineers, some young, some seasoned, reached out, sharing their own stories of pressure, of corners cut, of notes hastily shredded. What had begun as a lonely act became a catalyst for change. Block 7 still stands, its construction frozen in time. The city has yet to decide its fate. For now, it is both warning and monument, a testament to the dangers of silence and the power of one voice, one note, one small act of integrity. The columns, once mocked as toothpicks, now stand as questions. What holds us up, truly? What sustains a structure, a city, a profession, a society, if not honesty? In the world of engineering, every detail matters: the length of a bar lap, the grade of concrete, the quality of the soil beneath. But so too does the courage to question, to listen, to refuse to look away. For every building that stands safe and true, there has been someone, somewhere, who insisted on seeing what others missed. There will always be pressures, deadlines, budgets, reputations to protect. But there are greater forces too: gravity, wind, time, and the weight of human lives. The job of the engineer is to stand between those forces and the people who trust in steel and stone, to be, in every sense, a vital axis. Sometimes, all it takes is one note, the one they forgot to shred. The crack in the silence, the proof that what is hidden can and must come to light. This is not just the story of Block 7. It is the story of every structure that stands and everyone that falls. It is a call to every auditor, every engineer, every worker who feels that knot in their stomach when the numbers don't add up, when the explanations don't ring true. Trust that instinct. Trace the line. Read the building's language. Because the truth, like a forgotten audit note, always has a way of surviving, waiting for the right moment, the right person, to bring it into the light. Today, Block 7 is still standing, but only because someone stood up. Sometimes all it takes is one note, the one they forgot to shred.